I'm Randy Alvarez. You are watching this week's Randy Alvarez Video Blog Marketing Report. With us, we have Rita Zamora. She's a social media marketing expert. She consults with the Wellness Hour. In fact, she is our #1 referral source. We tell everybody to go see Rita Zamora if they're considering any type of social media marketing. In fact, she's building my business page today. Is that right? Well, thank you for coming on the show, by the way.
Thank you for having me back.
Now, you were on the last time, okay? And that video, we had a lot of positive response. I mean, what did people say when they saw you? I mean, did you get positive feedback from
Absolutely, from all over the country and actually out of the country as well. And they say, I feel like I know you now. I watched the video, I got to know a little bit more about you and your business, and I feel like I know you.
You know, video on the web is very important. Of course, you know, that's my topic all the time. But people need to know a little bit about you. I mean, you speak, I mean, you have clients in the UK, you speak in the UK, in Hawaii. I mean, tell me, you know, what groups you speak for on social media.
Well, I did just speak in the United Kingdom a couple of months ago. I spoke to dentists about Facebook, and I speak to all different types of groups about the benefits of social marketing, and work with clients all across the country, as far west as Hawaii and as far east as London, and so everywhere in between.
Now, your webinars, okay. Now, I've attended one of the webinars. How do people find out about the webinars you do?
They can keep in touch with me and what's going on through my website.
And that's ritazamora.com or the social media, what is it called, by the way? Your Facebook is what?
Facebook is facebook.com/dental relationship marketing.
Dental relationship marketing. Okay. Now, why aren't more doctors using social media, in your opinion? What's your take on that? Because I hear a mixed review.
Yeah, I think more doctors aren't using sites like Facebook because they can't really wrap their minds around it. If they've never been on Facebook before, or if they've only visited Facebook occasionally, they don't really understand what the benefits are or how it really works. So I think that's one of the biggest hurdles.
You think they're missing out? You think the modern dentist of today, the modern doctor of today, the practice has to have a presence?
Absolutely.
On Facebook?
I think they're missing out. I think there's a lot of practices that are having a lot of success, and they're sharing hundreds, literally hundreds of pieces of word of mouth about their practice on a daily basis, utilizing these tools. Where else are you going to have the opportunity to do that?
Okay, now we're going to talk about how people can use your services at the end, but you basically take people and you have, tell me about your programs you offer, by the way.
Two specific programs. One program is a Jumpstart program. It spans the course of 60 days, and it works best for practices who say, you know, we really want to handle our social media or our Facebook internally, but we want someone to either help us get set up and or train us, help us put together a promotional strategy and systematize things, and I get them up and running, trained over the course of about 60 days, and then they're off and running. Yep, and we also have a monthly service available for practices who either are very busy. We work with a lot of very successful practices. They say, you know, we're really busy, we need help coming up with content, we want some support and extra hand-holding, and in that case, we work with them on a monthly basis.
On a month-to-month basis. Okay, now what's the #1 social media platform?
Definitely Facebook. It's the #1 social media platform, most popular platform in all the English-speaking countries, the United States, Canada, and the United Kingdom. And it's a rival for Google. It's definitely working to beat Google on web traffic, and it did beat Google on web traffic last year, and everyone's keeping a close eye on those statistics because it can happen again soon. People are waking up and now reaching for their smartphone or their iPad to get on Facebook. They're not going on to Google and doing research first thing in the morning.
Interesting. Okay, so the success stories. I mean, do you hear them out there? Medical, dental, people that are using Facebook and actually getting new patients?
Yep.
Tell me about that.
I'll give you one example. Recently, I had a doctor that called me and they said, you know, we have a really high-end practice. Our clients are in a very affluent area. We've talked to a couple of our clients and they're not really interested in Facebook. You know, some of them think it's a waste of time. Well,
so they told you their patients aren't on Facebook.
Yes. And so what the key is to find the correct promotional strategy. So we worked together and found a promotional strategy that worked because you have to engage your patients. Those are your loyal,
did it turn out to be true?
Fans.
I mean, just about everybody is on Facebook. Or at least has
50% of the country actually is on Facebook. So don't be surprised if some people say, I'm not on yet. I believe those numbers will continue to increase. But for this one specific practice, we found the right promotional strategy, and just in one day alone, they had 7 patients comment, glowing testimonials and fun comments. And when you consider that each person on Facebook has about 100 friends, if you got 100 friends that were exposed to your testimonial for those 7 patient testimonials in one day, that practice received about 700 pieces of word of mouth in one day. So if you can systematize that, where else are you going to get hundreds of links pointing back to you and your practice?
And okay, so now what are the mistakes you see, by the way? I mean, does it frustrate you because now there's businesses pop? I mean, it seems like, your business has been since the onset of this social media. But what are the mistakes doctors make when using their social media?
Not really creating a content strategy that works. In other words, what are you going to post about? Dentists are one example. For example, they're very passionate about what they do, and it could be plastic surgeons or dermatologists. They love what they do.
What do you think about those ugly teeth pictures?
Yeah,
well, they're ugly to me. You know, with the the retracted view.
Yes.
Bloody X-rays.
Well, Facebook's a positive place. They don't have a dislike button. They have like buttons. It's a positive place. So you want to focus on the positive. And in healthcare, we're very much about the risks. I would say no. There's other ways that you can promote what you do without putting scary photographs or videos on Facebook. So the most common mistake people are making is not creating content. You know, what are you going to post about? And so you need to have a variety of content. Otherwise, for example, for dentistry, there would be magazines available, like you've got Prevention and Men's Health and Women's Health, and you might find a dental article in those magazines, but it's not all about dentistry. So you have to create content that's going to be interesting, and it might have to be a variety of content and not just about your specific profession.
Should it be just popular, like what's hot?
It could be. You have to consider also who's your patient, who's your audience base, so you need to be thoughtful about that. And that's something that we help our clients
is the goal with content for the person looking at it to learn something? Or, let me see, because here's the thing, I asked you about mistakes, but, I see certain doctors that are just, everything's a solicitation. Like 20% off, 10% off, come in for this, save money on this. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I think you could advertise specials occasionally, but you have to be really careful about advertising and selling in social media. So again, it should be more about positive content, should be engaging. It might be something clever. It could be a quote. It could be something that is not your typical advertisement or content that you would put out there.
So what are the mistakes then do they make?
Either posting too much, they're over posting, they get overzealous, they want results really quickly and think that the more they post, the better results that they're going to get. They might post like 10 things in one day, or they might underpost. They might not post anything for weeks at a time, and in that case, people might think that the page is abandoned or, there's no life to it. So, and then just posting too much of the same thing. I give that example of dentistry. You don't want to post about dentistry all the time. There's different ways. The biggest benefit that you get from social media is that you're able to build trust and show your human side. And as you've always said, it's not just about who you know, it's about who knows you. And so you want to make sure that you're leveraging that opportunity to have your name and face in front of people by providing some information that's of interest, photographs.
We talked in the green room over there, and we were talking, I quoted Peter Drucker. He said the purpose of a business is to get a customer, and then, of course, to keep a customer. And then we discussed that this social media marketing allows you to kind of expand the customer, and keep the customer, and broaden the personal brand.
Exactly.
Because I think that, are there doctors that what are some of the other success stories you hear, by the way?
Well, I think one of the biggest concerns for doctors right now are negative reviews. They're concerned about getting reviews on sites like Google and Yelp, which show up very high on Google search. And one of the biggest benefits of Facebook is it's a great platform for you to create a bunch of positive PR and lots of testimonials that are very real because they've got pictures of people right next to their comments in their own writing. So whether there's typos or what have you, it's a very genuine testimonial.
But if you have a crazy person that's bugging you on your business page, you could block them anyway, right?
Absolutely. You could remove them and you could ban them. So one of the biggest mistakes is not using Facebook as a marketing tool because you're afraid or fearful that it's going to be a platform or an area for people to complain about you. And it's really
Do you hear that a lot, by the way?
Absolutely. Almost every seminar or workshop that I give.
Somebody raises their hand, well, what about,
they say, I'm afraid because people are going to post bad things about me. And it's just not true. Not on Facebook. I've only seen it on a very rare occasion. And as you said, there's things that you can do about it.
Okay. Now, what's one thing, and I have some notes here, pick one thing that makes or breaks Facebook marketing?
The one thing that makes or breaks Facebook marketing is having at least one person in your office. I like to call them a Facebook champion. If you want to engage your patients on Facebook, you have to have at least one person in your office who's familiar with Facebook, who's hopefully really excited about it or motivated about it to want to be able to share that with your patients and ask them if they'll join you on Facebook and share the promotion and invite them to interact with you. If you don't have that in your practice, it's going to be really difficult, if not impossible,
and this is not
to get it
time
going.
consuming, though, right?
It doesn't have to
I mean,
be.
it could be as little as 5 minutes a day.
It could be. You're going to get out of it exactly what you put into it. So the more time that you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it.
Okay, okay. Now, if Gary Vaynerchuk, and he wrote Crush It, and I always tell on my video blogs that everybody needs to get this Crush It book. He has a new book that I read, didn't like it as much as the first one, The Thank You Economy, but he says there's a lot of people out there. I just saw a video on the web that a lot of, I'm calling it quacks, but people, these so-called social media experts that are just terrible. They don't know what they're doing.
Yes.
What are your thoughts? I mean, what should you look for in somebody that's going to be managing your social media?
Well, what you want to look for are a couple of key things. Number one, have they walked the talk? So if someone's going to be consulting with you or training you on creating a Facebook page or a Facebook marketing plan or Twitter or creating a blog or what have they done that for themselves? So that's one thing. You also want to check and see, what's their background before they got into this social media consulting. Do they have any knowledge of business or marketing, or were they working at the local yogurt stand before they started, their social media consulting firm? So you want to look at their background and then also look at testimonials, get some names of other clients that they've worked with and that sort of thing.
Yeah, but what if somebody, for example, I know you work with a medical doctor that's also a client of mine, and somebody might say, well, yeah, but Rita Zamora specializes in dentists. What does she know about plastic surgery or dermatology or knee surgery or whatever? What's your response to that?
Well, I think you need to know, again, how marketing works and how business works, because I'm helping you, for example, with your
and I'm not a dentist.
With your Facebook and your Twitter, and I've helped other corporate clients as well.
So it doesn't matter. I mean, whether you're selling handbags or whatever.
Exactly.
I mean, you're putting systems in place, like a structure together to launch their social media campaign.
Yep, and we're figuring out what are your goals and your objectives, putting together a promotional strategy for you, and then helping you to set up systems so that you can maintain it and make the most of it the long term.
And I know the prices that are out there because I hear them all the time. And you're less than just about, maybe I shouldn't say that, but you have a monthly at the low end of how much?
$395.
$395 a month.
Yes.
Somebody, in fact, one of my doctors said, I talked to Rita and she was more than what she said on your show. And that was a long time ago. It was $300, so it's only gone up $100. Not a lot of money.
Well, yeah, they start at $395 a month, and then we have monthly the Jumpstart Program, which is a 60-day program, and there's a different fee for that.
That's the good one, the Jumpstart.
It's a great program for people who have someone in their office that wants to manage it internally. And ideally, the more involved that you have someone in your office in your program, the better. If you can handle it all in your office, that's great, or you at least have to have someone in your office that's willing to manage at least part of your program.
And return on investment. I mean, results.
Getting new patients.
That's the goal.
The goal is to get new patients and get lots of word of mouth generated about your practice out there on the web.
That's one of the things I like about you, because I interview people that are trying to break into your business, and they say, well, we give them a presence on Facebook, this and that, and you're crystal clear. You want them to get new patients or expand their brand.
Exactly.
With which in turn will get more patients and keep people. Well, I want to thank you for coming on. To get started with you is what? Where should they go?
They get in touch with me. We'll have a conversation. We'll talk a little bit about your practice. Let me get to know you, your practice, where you're located, what your resources are, and then I'll be able to make recommendations on which program I think is best.
Okay, and they go to ritazamora.com. Do they look you up on Facebook?
ritazamora.com, and they'll be able to find links to all of my social media communities, I like to call them.
Okay, good. And your webinars, you have lists of, how often do you do webinars, by the way?
Generally, there's something going on every couple of months. I've had a pretty full speaking schedule lately, so.
Okay, good. I want to thank you for coming on the show. Always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's this week's video blog. Randy Alvarez here. We'll see you next week.